Hey, hey. Welcome to Live Q&A Wednesdays with Darcy. I am delighted to be here with you. I'm Darcy. I'm the creator of the Vibrant Woman program, which includes a course and an exclusive coaching program. It's based on the work of my mentor, Dr. Phil Maffetone, and his paradigm shifting MAF method. I'm actually one of the founding members of MAF Method certified health coaches and practitioners. Um, and I'm a certified Doman Method neurological evaluator, which is going to come into our talk today because what I really want to talk about is part of my experience as a veteran Doman mom doing the Doman Method program with my daughter Haley to help her outgrow her brain injury. So, we're going to talk about the brain today, what that brain injury of my daughter's taught me, what it has to do with you and my Vibrant Woman coaching package, and what you need to know to take care of your brain, keep it healthy across your lifespan. So, welcome. I am so glad you're here. Full disclosure, my brain is a little foggy today. I actually had to take some medication this week. It's a long story, but medication definitely affects our brains, and I don't usually do that kind of thing. So I'm still sort of like finding my way through the fog, the brain fog. Um, so that's what I want to talk about today, the brain, how my Vibrant Woman program targets creating a healthy, vibrant, thriving brain across your lifespan, why that's absolutely possible. And I do want to back up and share a little bit of this intimate story of the journey I took with my daughter. I want to share that because I know a bunch of my followers here. In fact, two of the questions that I will answer today came from followers of mine that came in through that pathway. Either you're other moms of brain injured kids yourselves, you're doing a program of neurological organization, either through Betty Lamont's program, through the Doman International program. Some of you came from the institutes. And, I just think it's really important that we continue to share our stories of success. One of the things that was so devastating to me when I got the diagnosis for my daughter's brain injury was what I thought that meant about her life, her future, and therefore mine. And we know now that neuroplasticity, that is a real thing. The brain is constantly growing and changing and evolving through the lifespan. It has far more potential than we've ever given it credit for. We learn about that all the time, more every day. And so, what I really want to talk about is how this idea of getting certain labels ascribed to our kids, to us, labels that are the description of symptoms of brain injury, how that can really end up being a barrier or a block or, like a roadblock to getting the help that we need, to finding the resources that would help us make a change to that brain, a change for the better. So I do want to share my story. Like I said, the first two questions here came from other moms who have kids. Like I said, some of you have already found, this path to doing a program of neurological organization. You've already decided that your kid is not going to have to live with those labels and that you're going to do something to help that brain to heal so that that child can outgrow those problems and have more potential, more skill, more function, higher function. I'm tiptoeing a little bit. There's a lot out there in terms of, well, we need to be really careful about the way we talk about people who are neurodiverse. And I'll get to that label here in a minute. Because we don't want to label them in ways that make them other, right? Nobody wants to be othered. Completely agree. I've lived some time in the margins of my own, and nobody likes to feel marginalized. But there's also another side to this that I really want to open up, and I really want to invite us to look at more carefully and consider that sometimes we do need a label temporarily, just simply as a descriptor. But what I want us to understand is that labels should be removable. And sometimes what happens is that we get attached to a label for lots of reasons. It gives us a sense of belonging. It gives, especially moms talking about their kids, it gives them a sense of at least some control and understanding of what's happening. Sometimes getting a label can at first feel like a relief, like, oh, okay, so I knew there was something wrong. That's what it is. But if we stay there, if we get stuck there, we're going to find ourselves in pain again. I did. I'll just speak from my own experience and the people that I work with who have resonated and shared their feelings with me as well. Like there is a sense of like, oh, that makes sense. And then pretty quickly, there comes another feeling of pain like, but I don't want this forever. And there are some people who really like their labels because it gives them a way to talk to the mainstream, the neurotypical people out there. And our entire society is set up, it's neurotypical centered, right? And so it can be very difficult, especially for people like the person who my daughter has grown into being. She has some neurodiversity still, of course, though it doesn't cause her the same problems it used to. But there's this thing that at least this label, and when I can tell people that this is who I am and that these are my differences, it provides a sense of understanding and a basis for asking for support. And yes, we definitely need to have that in place. I'm just inviting us to say that there could be a next step after that. It's the one we took. It's the one my daughter continues to take every day as she takes care of her body and brain. It's one I'm going to share a little bit more about today before we finish up. And that is the sense that brains are highly plastic and they can be reorganized at any time. And I'm not saying that's a quick, simple answer. Our culture, our medical paradigm, our cultural paradigm right now really just kind of prefers whatever. If you can pop a pill, like that's the easy way out. That's what we wanted to be able to do. This path takes longer. It's just that it actually works because it treats the root cause. So let's just go right there. We'll just go right there. Question number 1. Darcy, you say your daughter doesn't use medications to treat her seizures. Why not? And isn't it dangerous? This question came from, and I get this question actually quite a lot, versions of this question. This one came from a mom of a child who also has seizures, and they're using medications to try to stop his seizures at this point. And the problem is he's still having seizures on medications, and that tell you my experience. And of course, medical disclaimer, everyone watching this video needs to have their own medical practitioner. You need to follow the advice of the medical professionals and be in their care. And I'm going to share my own personal experience here, which does not constitute medical advice for anyone else. This is my story. So when my daughter was brain injured, she was 12 days old. And I say that we were lucky because there are a lot of other kids out there who, and now adults, who have grown up to be adults who still have some of these problems, who, if you didn't know, like if there was not an actual accident or injury or incident to cause brain injury, then you might have been, these people might have been growing up with symptoms of brain injury and not ever knowing what it was. Plus, there are plenty of things that can cause brain injury that are not impact. Chemicals can do it. The glyphosate sprayed all over our food does it through some direct and indirect pathways. So lots of ways to hurt a good brain. Now, my daughter, we were lucky because she had spinal meningitis at 12 days old. We nearly lost her. When we didn't, I was given, all the papers and reports, all the people in white coats standing there explaining to me the places where they found, sorry, I have something in my eye today, bleeding on her brain. So we knew she was brain injured. Occipital lobe, both temporal lobes, frontal lobe to a certain extent, one side more than the other. So we knew that the functions that were going to have a home in those parts of the brain could be impacted for her whole life. Okay, so that's our story. Now, she had seizures from the very beginning. So when we were sent home after, the 3 weeks in a hospital on antibiotics to try to treat the meningitis and make sure that she was, not going to die of a disease or an infection, she then went home with a big bottle of phenobarbital because she was at risk for seizures. They said for her entire life. So what I want you to understand, first of all, is that seizures are a symptom of brain injury. Okay, they're not a separate disease. They are a symptom of brain injury. And it's really important if we want to get rid of any symptom, we actually have to treat the root cause of that symptom, right? Isn't this so? This is true all across the board. If we want to remove a symptom, we have to treat the root cause. So You can read more about my journey with my daughter's brain injury. It's a memoir in progress. I put little bits and chapters on my blog, on my website. I will give you the link. There's a lot to talk about there, but I want to stick to this topic of seizures and the medications for now. What we decided to do was the Doman Method treatment program. It was an intensive treatment program that helped to neurologically organize the child's brain and to help that brain to heal and grow. Understanding that when it did so, the symptoms would naturally resolve because a healed, healthy brain does not need to have a seizure. Seizures can look scary. There are lots of different kinds of seizures. I will be very honest and say that my daughter's seizures changed in frequency, intensity, duration, and character very much from the time when she was heavily medicated to now when she is not. It has helped me to see that the medications do not actually remove the cause of a seizure, which is an injured or disorganized cortex of the brain. The medications, especially, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience. In my experience, the medications that I was instructed to give to my daughter caused so many other side effects. They caused digestive issues. They affected her appetite. They affected her mood, her attention span, her ability to learn, read, remember, her ability to reason, her ability to sleep well. They caused her a lot of anxiety. Let's see, what else? 2 to 3 of them caused potentially life-threatening side effects. She had rashes all over her body. She had liver enzymes in the danger zone. They impacted her growth. At least one of them caused excessive hair growth all over her body. They caused the swelling of her face and lips and gums. They impacted her tooth development. They impacted her language development. So that's a pretty long list. She was not thriving on the medications, and it took us many years of safe and careful, medically supervised weaning of those medications to remove them. So yes, today my daughter is actually medication free. She is mostly seizure free. She is I mean, she went from struggling in special ed. If you saw my blog post this week, I wrote some details about just some of those hard days when she would come home, from her little special ed preschool class, so overwhelmed and frustrated. I wrote about that. Go find that blog. I just wrote it 2 days ago, so it's in my feed here somewhere, very close. If you are a mom who is living through something like this, my entire whole heart goes out to you, and I'm giving you a hug right now. Those were not easy days. It is not easy to have someone that you love more than life itself, that you are devoted to caring for and nurturing, to not be thriving, and to be following all of the mainstream advice, and it's still not really going anywhere that you want it to go. So I've been there. And here's what I have to say about all of that. Yes, part of the purpose of coming on and doing this talk today and talking so openly about so seizures were one of the symptoms of my daughter's brain injury. She had many others, okay? And it looks then like there's all these different problems with this kid, but it's one root cause. It's in the brain. So when I learned how to help Haley heal her brain and what I had to do to heal her brain and give it a chance to grow normally, organize normally, to thrive, the symptoms began to go away. Okay, so she doesn't need medication anymore. One of the reasons I'm talking about this week is because the place where I learned that, this is all based on the work of Glenn Doman and his Doman method. I absolutely recommend the Doman Method program wholeheartedly because I did it and it worked for us, okay? I know lots of other families doing it now that are getting wonderful results. So if you are a mother or father, if you know a child who is struggling developmentally with neurological problems, and you know that there must be something more because the mainstream treatments just kind of shooting at the symptoms isn't really working, then you're absolutely right to know that there is something more. There is something you can do. So I'm going to put another link to the side here. it's going to take you to my referral link for the Doman Method course. They actually have a couple of courses coming up in August, one in English, in September, one in Spanish. And all of that information, it will be through this link for my followers. They're being generous to offer you a $50 off discount on the cost of that online course so that you can come in and learn what you need to know and understand about your child's developing brain, where it's gone wrong, and what you need to do to get it back on track. Now, I say that wholeheartedly. I believe in this completely. I also know it's not right for everybody. It is a big commitment. And so absolutely, if you have any questions, if you want to talk more in detail about your kid, hear my feedback, or ask me anything else in depth about that, I am absolutely here from you. You can come and set up a free discovery call with me, and I will talk to you, answer your questions, and let you know what I can. Yeah, about anything more about that. Okay, so I just want to refer people to real solutions. All right, now let me get back to the story about Haley's seizures and the brain and the medications. So, because we understood the root cause, and because the medications themselves were so harmful to her development overall, we decided to take this route and detoxify Haley from the medications. Now, I just have to say, in my own experience, that was probably the decision in my life that brings me the most relief and joy and satisfaction whenever I think about it. And I'm going to get a little emotional because I do meet kids from time to time that are very medicated and still having seizures and struggling a lot from the effects of those medications. And something in my little heart, while it breaks for that child, sings for mine, because I knew I never wanted that to be my kid. The reason this is important to me to share this story is because if I had left Haley on those medications, the way that she was handling them, her tiny little body and all of those medications, and her liver failing, and her skin, and her development, and her memory, and her not being able to digest food, and just not thriving, that path was never going to lead her to where she is today. Wasn't. So we took the fork in the road. We did this intensive treatment program. It was not easy. It was not a quick solution. My mom likes to call it a miracle in slow motion, where she, over time, yes, developed a healthier brain, a more neurotypical brain. It didn't erase all of the problems that she had before. She still lives with some neurodiversity. We'll talk about that word, like I said, in just a minute. So Haley today is a successful independent college student. You probably heard me say this before. She attends a Big Ten university. She's getting degrees in community health, entrepreneurship and small business management. Let's see if I can get these right. Global health promotion and nutrition science. I think I got them all. Yeah. And so here's the thing. She does, as a college student, she went for many, many years completely seizure-free, thriving in every way, except for a little bit of remaining spasticity in one of her ankles. So she actually had, some muscle imbalance, right? Some spasticity in her ankle from that brain injury, from that cortical injury. Aside from her learning disabilities and all that other stuff, she was able to outgrow almost all of this. She went many, many years seizure-free and went to college and, kind of jumped into that toxic, stressful, hustle culture life with all the pressure and the grades and the not enough sleep and all of that stuff. Now, she still took really, really good care of herself, comparatively speaking, but it was a lot. So over the last few years, we have seen an increase in Haley's seizures. I have her full permission to talk about all of this, by the way. I have complete consent from her. We clear all of this. She wants this story shared. She wants to help other people with her example, if possible. So that's really important to say. She has to manage her stress. She has to get enough sleep. She has to eat high fat. So that's why I'm here talking about this. This now is my segue into, if you are a vibrant woman, you want to be a vibrant woman or a vibrant man, and you have begun to wonder about aging in your brain. If you have begun to wonder about your memory, about organization, finding that right name, right? All of these things are neurological. They have everything to do with your brain, and it is absolutely within your power to eat well, to take care of your brain in a way that will allow it to thrive. There is no time clock on your brain that says, I'm going to thrive up until this time and then I'm going to just shut down. It's not about how long you've been alive that causes um, neurological problems. It is how long have you been doing those things to your brain? How long have you not been supporting it with enough healthy fats to provide the myelination so that neuron to neuron, they can blast their messages? How long have you not been getting enough protein so that you don't have proper neurotransmitters to carry those messages? So, how long have you been eating sugar and foods that turn to sugar, destroying, um, breaking apart both with cortisol through the stress pathways and simply with inflammation, breaking apart those neuronal connections and causing networks of neurons to deteriorate in your brain. Okay, this has everything to do with nutrition because your brain will heal, make, and repair itself only with the building blocks that you put in. If I've said it once, I'll say it a million times. This is the hill I will die on, absolutely, talking about nutrition and the brain. And I know, because if I can use nutrition to rebuild an injured, medicated, disorganized little girl's brain, transforming her from a cross-eyed, cross-legged, I love that child. I love the woman that she's become, but she was a hot little mess. She was covered with bumps and bruises all the time, couldn't sleep through the night, anxious and frustrated and tantruming and not learning, not able to learn and read and remember. I used to sometimes think to myself in my worst moments, I will admit this out loud, I would think to myself, she could not problem solve her way out of a paper bag. And I'm not proud that I thought that, but it was so overwhelmingly frustrating for her. It was so overwhelmingly frustrating for me, not knowing what to do to help her. How much repetition is it going to take? If I can use the power of nutrition to help that little girl's brain grow into the beautiful, calm, clear, confident, self assured. She's not learning disabled. She reads college chemistry textbooks with ease on her own. She's the employee of the month at her summer job. She bought her own car. She's paying her own way through college. She is determined to set the world on fire with what she knows and transform dementia care. She doesn't want them on meds either. She wants them to heal their brains, and she knows how to do it because she has walked this path herself and lived it. That's what is possible, people. And it's so important to me and to Haley as well to come out and tell this story so that oftentimes we won't try to do something if we don't think it's possible. And we don't know that something's possible unless we have seen it with our own two eyes. So let me just be here today and tell you this is absolutely possible. All right, and I think I've gotten a little disorganized myself, but so that's what I want to say is that that's the power of nutrition. This is what our brains are capable of in the right circumstances, in the right environment. And it absolutely is up to you as a parent to create that environment, or if that's your own brain, to create that environment for yourself. This pathway to thriving for my daughter was absolutely the path. Well, first it was the pathway to burnout for me because I tried to do it all alone and without enough support, without enough money, and without enough sleep, and I burnt myself out pretty hard. But then when I realized that the tools were right here in front of me and I just had to just apply them to myself, that I could heal myself as well. I mean, heck, I learned to read upside down about twice as fast as most people can read. That is the power of neuroplasticity. Your brain has, it's incredible. It has so much potential if you will just take care of it. So let me talk a little bit more about that for a minute. One of the other questions that I got this week was this one that memory and cognition naturally decline with age, right? So is there really anything we can do about it? And is there really um, validity to this idea of changing your diet? Yes, 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 yes. The science is there. We know the power of neuroplasticity. We know that new neurons come online all the time. If they're not given a job, then they do fall away. And so, yes, absolutely. Um, it does not have to decline with age. No, if you're not getting enough fat and protein, like I talked about a few minutes ago, if you are getting too many carbs, those absolutely will cause havoc in your brain. But here's the other thing I want you to remember about your brain: every brain is an aging brain, right? Because we're getting older by the day, not younger. So no matter where you are in the lifespan, this applies to your kids, this applies to teenagers and adults of all ages. You need stimulation to your brain as well. So the point is, those new neurons, so if we're going to provide the nutrition to help the brain have the building blocks to build beautiful, sturdy neurons and myelinate their axons and help them grow long dendrites and give them all the neurotransmitters they need to shoot fast, efficient messages to each other and build beautiful connections. If we're going to do all of that, we also have to give those neurons a job. Okay, there has to be a reason for new neurons to stick around, something for them to do. They need a purpose. This is where stimulation comes in. So it's really important to always be active. We need physical activity and we need mental activity every day across your lifespan to keep that brain healthy. So learn something new, a language, music, how to make something. This is where our creativity, when I talk in my Vibrant Woman program about the need for creativity to be vital and vibrant and thriving, it has everything to do with your brain health. And allowing those neurons to have a job, allowing life force energy to flow through them and create something in the world. So you're writing, you're painting, you're gardening, training a puppy, learning how to train a puppy. All of these things are really important stimulants to the brain to give those neurons a job to learn something. And physical activity is also, learning new physical activity can be wonderful for the brain. So if you've been a runner, pick up a bike. If you've been a biker, learn to play golf. Except not me, I'm not into golf. I'm going to learn cello actually. So, it's just really important to change it up. If you're used to biking on this trail, start at the other end and bike it the other way. If you're used to jogging that path, pick a new route. Visit new places. We need stimulation to the brain to encourage those neurons to build new connections, to stay alive, to keep functioning. It's really important. And the physical activity that you do serves there's a couple of layers there. When you're physically active, you're using your aerobic system, hopefully. And I talk more about that in other videos, like what's the intensity that's right for you, what heart rate should you be moving at. So that's all there if you want to find my other Q&As and learn more about that. But my point for today is simply to say moving that body builds your aerobic system, which, to keep it simple, just delivers oxygen to all the cells of your body and helps them to burn fat, which, again, is a way to stimulate brain function. When your body cells are burning fat, it helps us to keep a lean, strong body. It also allows the few neurons that cannot convert. They're not keto adaptive. They can't convert to burning fats. They will get the little bit of glucose that your body will make. And that keeps that brain electric and alive and in tune and alert and stable. Okay? So that's what I wanted to say today. I'm talking about the brain. And I really want to hit this last point before I log off and wish you a good day. I want to talk about the label neurodiverse for a minute. Like I said at the beginning, it's really, really important that we find ways to communicate what we need. For my daughter, her neurodiversity is invisible for the most part. It's her risk for seizures. She has to communicate that in ways that people will understand. No, she's not pulling an all-nighter to get that project done. And no, she's not going to cheat and eat whatever that is, or go too long without meals, whatever that is. Self-deprivation or self-abuse. Like, she's never going to do that because she knows the stakes are pretty high for her. She's got another, her neurodiversity is in her ankle instability. Sometimes that spasticity can make it very challenging for her to get up and down stairs quickly, to balance herself. She does not have the same physical agility or coordination that somebody who's neurotypical with all their proprioception um, through it's her peroneus group. The muscles don't always fire and they're not as developed as the other side, as her other healthy leg. So the point is, we all, some of us more than others, have our idiosyncrasies, the ways that our brain is not neurotypical. Some of us have it in ways that we need those labels. People on the autism spectrum disorder, people who have seizures, um, people who have more physical muscle issues, spasticity and rigidity through their bodies, people who have learning differences, people who have sensory differences. And I think it's really important that we teach our children what it is they're experiencing. I'm hypersensitive to sounds, or those flashing lights really bother me, if possible. Some children don't speak because of this. Their language can't develop because there is a block because of these issues. But the point is, I think it's really important we name these things, help to advocate for ourselves. For those of us who are mostly neurotypical, we need to be good listeners. We need to be understanding this. But then I also want to say this. Let's please not get stuck with a label like that and use that as a way to just stay there, particularly for our kids. You know, I beseech you to learn more about how the brain can develop and outgrow some of these problems. Because it does break my heart a little bit when I see, moms kind of say like, oh, well, he has this label. And so we kind of just assume that that's the kindness that we can do, is to understand him. And I want to encourage you to an even deeper kindness, which is, what can we do to help him resolve that problem? And there's more that's possible in terms of the brain than we have been led to believe in the mainstream. For kids who are sensitive to sounds, and that basketball court is a freaking nightmare place for them to be, if they have to go in there at all, they definitely need their noise cancellation headphones. That's a stopgap measure to help them at least be with their friends in the gymnasium. But what if we actually did the treatment program that helps the midbrain process the auditory sensory stuff normally? My daughter Haley says it. She says, wow, sometimes I still pause and just kind of revel in the fact that I can sit here and read while you're over there, making noise in the kitchen, doing dishes, and I'm really okay with that because it used to undo me, she'll say. I used to hear the water running through the pipes in the walls and have to start over every sentence. I used to hear my own heart beating sometimes, and it would drive me crazy. And she doesn't have those problems anymore because we helped her brain organize itself. So I'm just here to invite you to consider what more might be possible, to tell our story as a bit of evidence for that. And if you're interested in learning more, if any of this resonates with you, I invite you to follow up with me and send a question to my inbox, or come over to my email, connect@darcyhawkshurst.com, and just let me know you're there, and we'll set up a time to talk, okay? In the meantime, let me just scan my list, make sure I've covered everything that folks asked me to. I did say to avoid glyphosate, right? I say that every time. Glyphosate is sprayed all over our foods. It's used as a desiccant for the grains. Got to get away from glyphosate. It's tearing up our gut lining. It's destroying our amino acid profiles, and therefore causing really bad problems in terms of neurological development for young kids and for our older folks too. So avoid glyphosate. If you're not sure how to do that, come and see me. I got a coaching package for you. And so anybody else who wants to learn more about what's possible for brain injured children, the Doman Method course, that link will be here. And I think I've said all of this. I know what else I want to ask you to do. Come sign up for my free e-newsletter. When I talk about changing your diet this way and what to eat and what not to eat, some people really trip there. And I know I did. I had a big problem with changing my diet in the beginning. And in fact, I tell a lot of those stories too. I kind of out myself. And so what happens in my newsletter is a lot of behind the scenes sharing, a lot of recipe sharing, and a lot of other really important free resources that will help you continue to take baby steps along this journey. Because trust me, it is a journey. This is not a quick fix or an overnight thing. If you're talking about building a healthy human body and brain, then welcome to the journey. Glad to have you along. But yeah, sign up for my free e-newsletter. I will put that link here as well. And I don't know if you're going to be, if you're watching this live on Facebook today, you might be watching the recording of it on Instagram tomorrow. Please follow me. Please share with a friend you think would also resonate with this information, who might need to hear it. And the place to see all of my Q&As in order, from the past to the future, is to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because that's the library where they're all going to be most easily accessible after the live. Okay, well, I thank you for your patience. Thank you for being here. If there aren't any other questions or comments, I'm going to look. Any questions or comments? Okay, well, then you know where to find me. And it is my heart's desire to be here for you for this journey. I am deeply grateful for this journey of mine. The way that it's transformed my life, the things that I had to learn to help my daughter, and the way that it has absolutely given me the beautiful life that I have now. And to see her soar the way that she is, it's a beautiful gift, what I've been given. And so if anybody else is at one of those past stages, I remember those days of struggle. And it's my heart's desire to be here and throw you a line, kind of like saving my past self, I guess. So it's a way to love myself and to love you and to love my daughter, and yeah, spread just a little bit of paradigm shifting, myth busting love with the world today. So thanks for being here with me. I'll see you soon, beloveds. Take care of your brain.